Hello everyone, this is Gairika. Welcome to my channel. The topic I will discuss today is weathering. Hopefully after watching this video, everyone will have a clear idea about the weathering process. If you like the video, you must subscribe to the channel. So, let's get started. First, I will know what is weathering. The word weathering comes from weather. When the surface rock layer is mechanically crushed and chemically dissociated by different elements of weather, such as humidity, precipitation, and various gases in the atmosphere, the entire process is called weathering. So, weathering is the breaking down of rock, soil, and minerals as well as wood and artificial materials through contact with water, atmospheric gases, and biological organisms. The action of the elements of climate and weather, animal and plant on the land surface to break them down biologically, chemically, and physically is called weathering. Here are some characteristics of weathering. It is mechanically disintegrate and chemically changed the rock and also the surface of land, and it helps in soil formation. Several processes involved in weathering like temperature and weather change and reactions etc. After the weathering process, the transportation of rock materials from one place to another, resulting in formation of large plain like northern plain of India. So, are the process of weathering and erosion same? No. There is a difference between weathering and erosion. Weathering is a static process. That is means weathering refers to the formation of rock fragments and rock crust in the rock layer, and their position there is situated on the top of the rock. But erosion is the occurrence of a decrease in the height of rock when it is removal by natural forces such as river, winds, etc. So, weathering has no moving agent of transport, whereas erosion, the rock and upper layer soil particle are worn away and moved elsewhere by water, wind, etc. So, weathering is the process of breaking down of rocks but not its removal. It is described as disintegration or decomposition of rock in size by natural agent at or near the surface of the earth. And the entire process of weathering, erosion and after the mass movement is called denudation. Denudation of the earth's surface occurs as a result of weathering and erosion and also the mass movement. The lower rock layer is exposed to the weather and then the weather change it in that open rock layer again, and after its removal by water, winds and another elements of weather. And there is the diagram of weathering process and there is the diagram of erosional process, and here you see that weathering causes the rock to break down but not its removal, and erosion and transport move sediment downhill to another place by water. There are some classification of weathering. First is physical weathering. Physical weathering involves the breakdown of rock and soil through the mechanical effect of heat, water, ice, or other agents. Physical weathering, also called mechanical weathering, in the class of processes that causes the disintegration of rocks without chemical change. So, rock disintegration without any change in chemical constituent of rocks take place. It's called physical or mechanical weathering. There are some factors such as temperature, moisture, pressure causes physical breakup of rocks. It takes place in hot, dry and cold area due to rapid temperature change, and rock are affected to great depth. First types of physical weathering is block disintegration. What is block disintegration? In the desert area, which is a bad conductor of rock heat, the sun rays heat up the upper layer of rock during the day and increase their volume. But since the rock is not heated inside and decreasing their volume, this result in the formation of parallel cracks between the two rock layers within a few days. The upper rock layer separate from the original rock, and the entire process is called block disintegration. Second is granular disintegration. Rock consists of a combination of multiple minerals, and the minerals have different properties, nature and also color. So mineral expand and contract at different rates to increase or decrease the temperature. This causes a lot of stress on the rock, and at some point the rock turns into small pieces. Here is the diagram where we see that the rock surface heat up and expand in the day, and rock surface cools and contracts in the night. So the mineral expand and contracts at different rate to increase and decrease the temperature, and the joint form in the outer parts of the rock, and for this the agent of weathering reduce the rock made of different minerals to small pieces and fragments. It's called granular disintegration. Another types of physical weathering is exfoliation. Rock is poor conductor of heat. So the outer part of the rock layer expand with intense heat during the day and shrink at night. Due to the continuous expansion of the outer part, the rock layer open like onion peel. Later on, the open part are removed by air flow and take on a spherical shape. This is called exfoliation, and this is the diagram of exfoliation. The another physical weathering due to frost action. In the region of a dry climate or in a high altitude, the crack in rock get filled with water. During the night, the water freezes and expands. When the process is repeated several times, the rock eventually breaks. The another causes of physical weathering by rock pressure. If a rock layer is initially under pressure in the upper rock layer, and then if the upper rock layer is removed by erosion, then the rock layer breaks due to pressure reduction. Sheeting and spalling are mainly due to pressure reduction. What is sheeting? The tendency of a rock to split into thin sheet of layer through crack parallel to the surface is called seating. According to Gilbert, the removal of the erosive pressure of the upper rock mainly due to expansion of the upper layer of the granite rock, resulting in the formation of seats. Spelling: if the rock layer above is weak, the pressure drop can cause blasting and seating. However, in some cases, even if the rock layer is removed, seating may not occur. In these cases, the rock layer separates into small thin pieces in a somewhat chaotic manner. This is called spalling. And the other process is the rock gets wet and dry due to effects of tidal flow along the coast and the rock erupt. This is called slacking. Moisture accumulated on the rock layer removes small particles from the main rock as it dries. This is called colloid plucking. When the rock is heated by the effect on fire, the rock breaks. This type of climate helps in soil formation. The another weathering process is chemical weathering. When the various elements of atmosphere such as carbon dioxide, oxygen, water vapor and rocks under the influence of plants, the animals break down in a chemical process. It's called chemical weathering. In chemical weathering, the minerals in the middle of the rock change and become secondary minerals. So the rocks are easily broken into pieces. Some part of the rock decomposition are carries out being through rocks and soil, a procedure called leaching. The water ultimately may carry these materials to river and the sea. This is the source of the salinity of the ocean. Minerals in rocks are dissolved or altered. Temperature, moisture causes minerals in rock to dissolve in water to convert them into other minerals, and it takes place in hot and humid area due to chemical action of minerals in rocks. It mostly takes place near the surface of earth, and its agents are solution, oxidation, carbonation, hydration, etc. The first chemical weathering is carbonation. As rain goes through the air and into the ground, it grabs carbon dioxide from the air and creating carbonic acid. So when the water of rain and the carbon dioxide of air are mixed, it's creating carbonic acid. This weak acid reacts with the calcium carbonate in stone when it's dipped into the crack. It's called carbonation. A stone that is particularly susceptible to carbonation is limestone, which is made of mostly calcium carbonate. Carbonation of the limestone creates unique structure like the South China karst. Karsts are all over the globe and included unique caves, streams, sinkhole, unusual rock formation, etc. The second one is oxidation process. Oxygen causes oxidation. You can think about oxidation like rust on a car. Rust forms when the iron or steel in your car reacts with the oxygen in the air to form iron oxide. The resulting red substance can be quite brittle, so much so that you could literally poke a hole in it with your finger. Rock with iron can go through the same process too. Minerals with high iron content are affected by oxidation, including pyroxene and amphibole. The oxidation gives these rocks a reddish look very similar to the patina on a car. So the entire process is oxidation. After that, the next process is hydration. This is not the hydration used in your body, but it's similar. Hydration is a type of chemical weathering where the water reacts chemically with the rock, modified its chemical structure. One example of mineral hydration is when H2O or water is added to calcium sulfate, which is a CaSO4, to create calcium sulfate dihydrate, and it's changed from anhydride to gypsum. The addition of the water to the anhydride chemically reacts to create a totally new compound of gypsum. Hydration has led in part to the gypsum sand dunes at White Sand National Monument. The next process is hydrolysis. Water can add to a material to make a new material, or it can dissolve a material to change it. In hydrolysis, the acid in the water work to dissolve mineral within specific rock. The example of hydrolysis is action included turning feldspar into clay and making sodium minerals into salt water solution. Another example of the hydrolysis process is the flare slope of Australia are partly created by this process. And after the next process of chemical weathering is acidification. Acidification, you have probably heard the acid rain. However, most people don't know what is it or how it contributes to chemical weathering. Acid rain is water with sulfuric and nitric acid from the burning of coal and fossil fuels along with volcanic eruption. This acid creates a reaction when they hit stone, causing the surface to wear and composition to soften. Acidification can also be caused by organisms like lichens, which are created from algae and fungi. One well-known case of rapid weathering and blackening of stone is the weathering on the 1,000-year-old Lasan giant Buddha in China. The 232-foot tall Buddha required 6 months of repair for weathering after only 12 years due in part to acidification. And another example of the Taj Mahal of Agra, which is situated in Delhi, India. It's highly affected by the acidification process. The another process of weathering and the last one is biological weathering. Biological weathering is weathering caused by plant and animal. Plant and animal release acid forming chemical that cause weathering and also contribute to breaking down of rocks and landform. It is also as organic weathering. So the another name of biological weathering is organic weathering. Its main agent are animal, insect, plants and man. In all the cases, however, both physical disintegration and or chemical decomposition are involved. Their role can be explained. Let's see. First is animal and insect. Animal like rabbit, worm, mole and insect bring large quantities of fine minerals to the surface. Burrowing animals helps to loosen the surface materials along the rock, facilitating their physical disintegration. Upon death, the decay physical also provide many chemicals and acid for rock disintegration. And the vegetation. The root of large tree reach deep into rock and cause physical disintegration due to pressure. Most of the vegetation, however, prevents disintegration of rock because it's bind the surface layer and does not allow export the rock beneath to the element of weathering. And here is the another diagram. That's the even the tiniest bacteria or algae and the lichen procedure chemical that help break down the rock and which they leave so they can get the nutrients they need. and many animals such as these pedoxales holes in rocks for protection, either by scraping away the grains or secreting acid to dissolve the rock. So here is the entire process of weathering. I hope after watching this video everyone will have a clear idea about the weathering. So thank you for watching. If you not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe